welcome to Creating in Color, sharing the creative endeavors of people of color. I'm your host, Kaybe, and today we speak with Alejandro Sandoval, a concept artist for video games who is currently working on an indie game in development. How are you today, Alejandro?
Doing really well. I'm nice and warm in my room here in the East Bay, just having a good time. I'm ready to chat with you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So, how would you define a concept artist?
I think the best explanation is that I'm a visual problem solver. So if you have an idea in your head about a certain mechanic or a character or even just like a landscape visual, take your idea and then we visualize it for you, but then we contribute a little bit of our own perspective, our own background, history, comic book reference, something like that, to kind of plus it up a bit. And ideally this will give you a greater understanding of where the direction of your project is headed. And if we do a good enough job, like, we can save you money, so you're not messing around, so you can get very strategic and precise with, I like this idea. This is cool. We're going to need this many assets. We're going to need, X, Y, and Z to figure out the formula to get this done by this certain deadline. So basically, a visual problem solver is what I'd say.
How did you get started?
It's a funny story. So I actually wanted to get into animation because I graduated from Art Center last December, and I wanted to get into animation, but then animation just kind of took a hit, and I couldn't find any work, entry level roles for storyboarding, which is what I wanted to do. And so I moved back here to the Bay Area, and I started going to conferences based on gaming, and that was all new to me. So I had to build up a whole new community. And I went to a conference in March called the Game Developers Conference, and I randomly met this guy there. His name is Jonathan. You can hear me, Jonathan. Shout out to you. And we just started talking about like our related interest in horror games, and we connected and stayed in touch afterwards. And then I started. At one point, I reached the point where I had gotten a few interviews at DreamWorks and Netflix and Nickelodeon, but for production roles. But I was like, I had the skills, but I just like didn't have that one thing, so I didn't get the role. And this was in the summer, and I thought, well, I can't do anything else. I've maxed out my capabilities. I can't like create more opportunity right now, so I'm just gonna do what I love, which is just make some fan art. And so I just started making fan art of. I read this book called The Postman by David Brine, and I just started reading it and thinking, what would that character look like? If I'm a director, I want to direct an animated film. What would that look like? And so I started just drawing characters for fun, and I started posting it on LinkedIn. So, and a week later, my friend Jonathan, reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to talk about something, like some sort of project?" And I was like, "Sure." I haven't talked to him in a while. Now that we're just gonna like coffee chat, just casual friends catching up. But as soon as I get on the call, within 5 minutes, I realize he's giving me a job. So by the end of that 15-minute call, he sends me over a contract, and I start working for him as a character artist for his video game. And I've worked with him a few times since then, and we're still working with him right now on another project for a different game that he's developing. But it was just kind of funny that it all happened because I talk a lot about pivoting. So I wanted this one thing, storyboarding, but it wasn't going to work, and I can't change the market, so I had to pivot. Wanted to get into production, and then I did as much as I could, but I'm in the Bay Area, so I had to pivot again when I couldn't get any opportunities. And I thought, well, I got to do something. I'm a creative, like I'm an artist. I got to create. So I leaned into what I loved, and I did this stuff for fun. And it was funniest thing is that following your passion and doing what you love got me noticed, because I never expected to be a character designer. I always thought it was just going to be an animation. And then because of this job with Jonathan, I've really gotten into gaming, and now I just want to do games. I just want to make a career out of not only developing games, but being a part of the game development process with either production or overseeing like the pipelines or helping my teammates out, or it just any sort of like, I just want to get in and learn more about the business of gaming.
That's honestly so fantastic. Yeah, animation has taken a major hit and like it's been a real struggle, but you did such a quick pivot and adjusted accordingly, and switching from interest in story to interest in production, and then finding your way as a character artist for video games. How absolutely amazing is all of that? And do you mind if I ask what was the time frame from after you graduated from art center to you landing this character artist gig?
I need to think. I think it was 8 months.
8
Like I
months.
think my first role was in August or September, but it was 8 months, and there was. Oh, thank you, by the way. But there was
Mhm.
so many periods where I was just like, "What did I do? Why did I go to school? Like, I can't get a job. What am I doing? I'm wasting my time. I spent all that money. Like, and so you get these moments of like self hatred. But yeah, it was eight long months of the unexpected. Every day was an unexpected. Is it going to happen today? Is today going to be my shot? Is Pixar going to call me?
How did you and feel you don't have to answer this if you don't feel comfortable. But how did you push through those thoughts and were able to focus on creating and like even doing all this fan work that got you noticed? Like how are you able to like keep pursuing? Does if that makes
Yeah,
sense?
it does. So what you're saying is, how did I find the inspiration to keep moving forward despite all doubts?
Yes.
I think the you could always I say no man is an island. I think that's based off a song from David Bowie. But the reality is that, and I talk about this a lot too, is as much as I love the creating side, I also love my community. And it was because of my community that I feel like I was able to figure out parts about myself that I didn't know existed. So once somebody in my community reached out to me who's a recruiter, and she said, "You'd be a really great production assistant." I was like, okay. And so then I tried that for a few months, but it was just being in touch with my community, engaging with my community, and learning from them and being inspired by them. I think is really gave me that sense of focus. Well, not really focus is the word, but it gave me a sense of belonging, and it gave me a space, and it gave me a safe space to mess around and make mistakes. Because I think college is really good at that. They'll tell you, you're in college, you should just make mistakes and explore. This is a safe space. The expectation is that you will make mistakes, and then you'll figure out who you are at the very end. So the reality is that you finding out who you are doesn't end the moment you graduate. It's a lifelong process, but it's really my community has been there to support me. So my friends like Cami has been a huge help. Teresa from ATX Gamers, um, Robin Palmer, Zach Wolfork from PlayStation. There's just so many people that I could credit for their support. And then yeah, just being around these people. It's kind of like having a friends group. You're a bunch of work friends that are like, you know what, it's all right. I'll try this thing. You might be good at that.
That's wonderful. What does your daily routine look like?
That's a good question. It varies from day to day. I think that's the hard part about being a creative. But generally, after I do my drop off, I drop my son off at school. I just come back. I feel I've noticed that it's good to have routine, even though so right now I'm still freelancing, still looking for a full time role. But to have that stability is really important. So I always make sure to eat breakfast. Don't skip breakfast, guys. Like that's really important. Like get your breakfast in, get your morning walk in, get that blood flowing, get that energy in your body. And then I set aside a few hours, like usually in the morning, I'll do my LinkedIn stuff. And LinkedIn is a really important tool to use. LinkedIn or ArtStation, you got to have a social presence out there. But for me, I like to use LinkedIn a lot, and I'll like review my stuff on LinkedIn, respond to any messages, maybe comment one or two comments on a post that I think is interesting, but I'll make sure to be specific on what I'm not going to say, hey, that's a really cool thing. I'll say, that's an interesting idea because of this process here for this project. So I'm trying to contribute something, which when you're doing that, it doesn't take a few seconds. It takes usually like a few minutes and you have to think. So I like to set that thinking time aside in the morning, and then in the afternoon after I have my lunch and I got all that other stuff in, I can get to the art, finish up this freelance job, do some master copies to warm up. Or right now I'm learning Blender, so I'm teaching myself to use Blender. Okay, that takes a different. It's a lot of brain power. But so essentially, the administrative kind of talking, emails, business meetings happens in the morning, and the afternoon is all the art stuff, and I could just kind of enjoy the rest of the day knowing that I did all my administrative things in the morning.
Wow, that's a balance.
Yeah.
That's a balance. Well done.
Well, I think it's.
Uh
Oh, sorry.
no, 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 you go
I
ahead.
was going to say for anybody who's out there who's listening, who's looking for work, or if you're a college student and you still have to juggle those classes, try to find some form of stability that you can own outside of whatever, like if you go to class, go to class. Don't mess up on that, but own something for you every day that you can commit to, that you can, when you leave college, or if you're freelance, or if you're looking for work full time, like you have something at the end of the day that said, I did 30 minutes on this one fan art piece, or 30 minutes on this one portfolio piece, and just own that and hold on to that. And over time, that's going to build up. And so when you update your portfolio, and they always, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So you want to be prepared for that chance where you meet somebody and like, oh, you're a recruiter for, I don't know, Blizzard. I just did this really cool piece, like, and you send it over, but you had, you worked on everything beforehand. You didn't kind of just like let time slip, So I think about that a lot too, about being mindful of the time that you have and being strategic on the work that you do every day, even if it's only for 20 minutes or so.
Well put. That's stay ready, not get ready.
Yeah, I like that.
What are some specific roadblocks you try to watch out for?
For creating or just in general?
In general.
Oh gosh, these are hard questions.
What can I
I think the biggest thing is a self doubt. It's like I woke up this morning and I looked in the mirror and I thought, like, I'm sure everybody has these moments, but I thought, like, what am I doing? Where am I going? What am I doing with this? How did I end up here? And when I was 15 years old, I was living in Arizona. Now I'm here in Fremont. Like, how did I get from there to here? And does that make any sense? And where am I going to be in 5 years? Or where am I going to be when I'm 50? Like, it's just that self doubt hits you. And it's important. And I teach this a lot too. I say this a lot. So when you're in a team, when you have a conflict with somebody, right? And somebody's like, well, I don't agree with you. And you think, well, okay, we can disagree. The important thing is when somebody's upset, we always tell them, don't take away somebody's emotions. You need to let people feel whatever they need to feel. Because the moment you do that, the moment you say, well, you shouldn't be angry, the first thing you're going to do is like, well, hell yeah, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to get even more angrier, right? So I tell
say?
that to myself when I have these moments of self doubt of thinking, what am I doing? Like, how did I end up here? I feel like a mess. Like I have no direction, no guidance in life. I let myself feel that, and I process that, and I give myself space to process that, and then I acknowledge it, and then I move on, and then I get to work on whatever my daily schedule was that I wrote the night before about, like, okay, this LinkedIn post or get this thing done or whatever it may be. But I think that's my biggest roadblock, is acknowledging. That's a daily battle of acknowledging that self doubt, and it's just a never ending battle.
It really is. I agree. But thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like not enough people talk about it. What support software resources would you recommend for someone trying to break in?
You mean like Photoshop and things like that, or?
Yeah, or like if you got like a super secret something, whatever.
So, all right. So I don't want anybody to get mad at me. You can't, like, this is the nature of life. Okay, this isn't just specific to our industry. But I use Chat GPT every day, and it has been a great tool. I know. Like, you're looking at me right now, like, you're using AI. How dare you? I'm gonna end this call.
We are done here.
Wait, I can change. uh, but no, like, the truth is that I use ChatGPT all the time, and that has become my biggest tool. That and LinkedIn. I mentioned LinkedIn earlier, because when I coach somebody on their networking strategies, because I volunteer to coach artists how to network and build their own communities, and I always mention LinkedIn, but then I'm starting to mention ChatGPT as well. So the other day I was hanging out with my brother, and he's in college right now, and he wants to be a narrative writer for video games, and we were working on his LinkedIn bio, and he's just like, he's a really good writer, but he's like, I don't I don't like this bio. This seems too silly. I don't like this word. This phonetically sounds wrong. And I was thinking, like, just use Chat GPT. You put it in there, and I'm teaching myself prompt engineering. So there's a certain way to use that software, and it's free, by the way. I always go for things that are free. But I use that software, and I say, hey, I'm Chat GPT. I'm working on this bio for LinkedIn. I want it to sound like this, but I'm having a hard time with these key phrases. Can you help me summarize this in 3 sentences or less? Or can you help me format this in a way that's like copyright kind of style, or it sounds kind of like Grant Morrison, who's one of my favorite writers, or you know what I mean. Just and you don't have to use everything that Chat GPT says, but it gives you ideas. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's just a mirror. Like it's more than that, but I use it mostly for like, I have this idea, what do you think? And then it'll tell me from a different perspective. It'll summarize it for me. And because I'm usually on my own for this stuff, I don't have time to have, hey, Cami, can you like take a look at this thing for me? I need to post this by the end of the day. She's a recruiter. She's like doing stuff for video games. She doesn't have time to help me all the time. So
Mhm.
ChatGPT, guys, it's a good tool. I know that there's a lot of issues still with AI, and it's a big issue that's ongoing. But I just it's the nature of humanity that AI, that advancements in technology in general, are going to be constantly happening and constantly evolving. So I just think, well, we can't change that. We can't change the market. We can't like stop global war. We can do what we can. We got to work with what we got, and we got to find a way to use the system that's set up to our advantage, so we artists, creatives, don't get left behind. So yeah, ChatGPT. That's an answer.
No, that's fine. You do talks in regards.
Records.
Wow, who's that? Uh, you do talks in regards to building a community as a networking tool with the approach of build your community and your network will follow. Do you mind going into detail of what that means?
Yes, right after I take my sip of water.
Oh, me too. Where's mine? Stay hydrated, y'all.
Am I allowed to ask you questions as well, or is it just a
No,
no?
no one has ever asked me a question
Really?
before. I mean, you can, I guess, yeah.
Uh,
Like to be on the podcast.
yeah, like yeah, because I
Yeah.
just because when we talk, wow, when I talk with people, that conversation helps me understand your perspective, which then helps me understand a different way of explaining or reiterating a certain topic. Because I know that sometimes that I talk in a certain way that doesn't quite make sense to maybe people from different countries, or like they don't know what that analogy means. So
Mhm.
just yeah, I don't know if you like, I don't know, like what do you think? What's your favorite tool that you use? I'm curious.
Oh, wow. My favorite tool?
Yeah.
Oh. I guess it depends on exactly what I'm doing because like I have the podcast, I have my Etsy shop, I do storyboarding. What else do I do? I'm working on like personal projects like this webcomic series. Hi, I guess self plug. Um so I guess my favorite tools would be like the Google stuff in particular, like all the free Google suites, just because I don't have like Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
So I use the Google stuff and it's like very easy and it's free. Like I also love free stuff.
Yeah.
And it makes managing all of these different things significantly easier because I have a production background and I love schedules and
Yeah.
making sure everything runs smoothly and trying to not have any typos, but I messed up on this outline, damn. But I like those,
Yeah, that
yeah.
Google stuff. That Google stuff is really good. That Google stuff is interesting. Yeah, I mean, for anybody who's on a budget like us, it's just we got to take what we can get. And the funny thing about Google is that it's actually a pretty powerful tool. And yeah, I'm glad that you bring that up because I have a hard time with managing my schedule. I use Calendly when I schedule a meeting with somebody to do a networking
Mhm.
talk, and even then I have to write it down on my wall calendar because I don't like, I get so lost. I think that's the hard part about today is that there's so much technology and
Yeah.
so many apps, and it's just at some point you're just like, this is so much information. I don't want to put it all on my phone. It's going to overwhelm me. I need to write. I like to write things down, on my notebook or my wall calendar, or just on the wall in general. No, I'm just kidding. Just on the calendar. uh, but yeah, that's really good that you bring up Google Suite because I only use what I use Google Slides. I use that a lot.
I love Google
Right?
Slides.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like doing this whole world development thing in Google Slides. It's just so easy to just cycle through.
Yes, yes. But there's one thing that my first mentor actually ever was not an artist. He was a small business owner. His name was Desmond Peartree. It's a really cool name. And
Mm-hmm.
I was a salesman when he hired me. And so that's my sales background. It started because of him. And he would always tell me, like, there's no such thing as free lunch. So whenever I get something that's like free, like
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT is free, quote unquote. You can't see my fingers, but I'm quote quote. Uh, but I was thinking, okay, it's free, but it's not really free. Like they're getting something out of us, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's probably our data, probably our workflow, probably the way we write or the way what we're creating. But I don't know. You gotta take what you can get.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I think about that stuff too. It's most likely just, yeah, data and research on like how we speak.
Yeah, yeah. It kind
Yeah.
of sucks.
Okay, okay. Build a community, the
Okay.
network will
All right.
follow. Tell me about that.
All right. All right. So this kind of started. If I have to really think about it, I feel like this probably started when I was a fine artist back in Arizona. So I spent 10 years as a fine artist. I wanted to be a portrait painter, like paint presidential portraits and stuff. But when I lived in Arizona up until 2016, I would be hyper focused on my work. I would just work my day job at the insurance company as a claims adjuster, and then I would go home and I would spend all evening drawing, and then I'd stay up to like 1 in the morning, and then I'd wake up at 6 to go to work, and then I'd go to work and come back and do it again and again and again. And I'd take workshops every now and then, or I'd go figure drawing sessions every now and then, but I never really interacted with anybody in my community. And then at one point, when I had studied in Europe, and I came back, I gave a short presentation on what I learned, and I had picked up a few special skills that nobody else in the state had at the time. Any fine artist had, and I realized, like, I'm giving this talk, and again, I wasn't really active. I was kind of like, let me just do my thing. Let me do my thing. I did that for 5 years straight. But when I gave this talk, it was in this room, and it was like 30 or so people in this room, and they were all artists. And I recognized their names. I've seen their faces. Never really interacted with them. And I remember thinking at that moment, like, wow, all these years, I could have gotten to know these people, and I didn't. And I feel like I missed out on an opportunity. And so a few years later, when I started school at Art Center, I remember on orientation day, like day zero, before we even started class, I remember telling myself that I was going to take a mindful approach in being involved in the community. And so I spent the next 3.5 years doing that. So while I would take my classes, do the paintings and do the Viz Dev stuff. But then I joined student government and I got really involved in that, or the Pen Pal project during COVID. So I had people write letters to each other, and we had like 200 people sign up for the program. And I realized, okay, like, so there is a definite need, like a definite desire for people to connect. And then I launched a Discord trunk sale, and we had like 1,000 signups over the course of that program. And like people would chat with each other. They'd sell stuff to, they'd sell like art supplies to each other, but they would chat. So again, that need. And then when I graduated, before I actually even graduated last December, I went to 3 different conferences in my graduating term, to like World Animation Summit, Lightbox Expo, and CTN. And I started to plant the seeds of my community that I was going to interact with, because I was, again, learning from my lessons when I was a fine artist. And then over the course of looking for work and trying to build my career and pivoting, I stayed in touch with these people from both industries. And then at one point, I realized we're having a hard time learning how to connect with other people. And I thought, like, well, let me see if I can help them. And so I started with one conversation with one friend. And I said, I came up with this tagline. It's build your community and your network will follow. Because people would be like, I don't want a network. It seems so like slimy. I don't want somebody to like get what I need. But I said, well, like, reality is, man, every time you're making a new friend, you're networking. Like, all you're doing is sharing information and resources, but then you're hanging out too. So why can't building your community be the same thing? And so I've advocated for that approach for the last year. And I think so far I'm up to, like, I've coached about 40 or so artists. And I did my talks at Art Center and at Lightbox Expo and at Latinx and Gaming. And it's all with the approach of build your community and your network will follow. So what I mean by that is, like, you and I, for example, we're going to talk, we're going to share information, we're going to uplift each other, we're going to support each other. and we're going to get to know each other as part of the entertainment community. And as we do that, you realize that it's so much easier to connect with people, and it's so much easier to help somebody else while you're continuing to help yourself.
Well put. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely excellent. Yeah, it is interesting because I feel like people kind of look at networking not so much of just like meeting someone who has similar interests in you in the industry, but also like I think they look at it like I don't want to just beg people for jobs when that's not necessarily what networking
Yeah.
is. So it's good that you're like helping to redefine what networking is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, how do you, is a good question is how would you approach quote unquote networking? Like, what is your understanding of the concept of networking, and how have you approached it in your career?
Honestly, in my career, it's shifted quite a few times just because I've been through a lot of weird times in the animation industry. Um, where it basically did just turn into me looking for people who have similar interests and just kind of hanging out with them and then talking about like anime and Dungeons and Dragons and my cat. I will talk about my cat for hours. But it kind of just shaped into that. Like I don't approach someone saying, "Oh man, I bet this person could get me a job," but more so like I heard this person loves different types of Japanese bread, and I'm about to find out if melon bread's one of them. Like it's just approach people as people, not as like job opportunities. And then like the job opportunities may follow, it may not, but don't go looking for it like that.
And I think the hardest part with that is that it's really, and I know that some people, I remember I was at a conference a few weeks ago. It was actually the week before Lightbox, and it was a different kind of conference than we would usually go to. It was a lot more VC funding and higher ups and people like lawyers and stuff. It's all for gaming though. And I remember running into somebody, and they gave me their pitch. They're like, "Oh, I do this. I'm looking for funding for my game." And then they quickly went to, "So what did they say?" They said, "So what do you do? Like, how can I help you?" That's what they said. "How can I help you? How can I support you?" And I thought
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's actually a good, very direct line of, acknowledging that I can't help that person because I'm a concept artist. I'm not just I'm a concept artist, but I'm not in that space that they're what they're looking for, but they still want to help me. So I think just sometimes being direct to and saying, how can I help you? How can I support you? I know I can't do anything for you. I can't like take this thing and make it. I can't remove this roadblock for you, but in what ways can I support you? And I thought that was really nice. That was really nice.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to just like support and try to uplift your community
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Hey, that's fantastic. I'm gonna use
yeah.
that.
I use it all the time.
Alejandro,
Yeah.
what was your upbringing like?
Oh, my upbringing.
Yeah.
uh, how do I explain this? Well, I left home when I was 18. After a few weeks after I graduated high school, and I left. I just left on my own. I grabbed my backpack one day and I walked out of the house and I never went back. And so I've just been kind of. I don't know if that really answers the question without answering the question.
No, I got it.
Yeah. But at the same time, I still made time for my brothers and my sister, and I stuck around in Arizona a bit longer than I wanted to, just because I wanted to be there for them when they were kids. But at some point, I had to leave. But my upbringing, I'm realizing every day now that I have a son that I avoid certain things. Like I avoid the holidays because of the things that I experienced when I was a kid. Like it still kind of triggers me. But also, I'm really good at listening. And the reason that I'm really good at listening is because when I was a kid, I realized that if I was a really good listener, I could find a way to de-escalate conflicts at home with adults. And so over the years, I didn't realize it until a few years ago when I was in therapy, but like, yeah, okay, so actually there's a lot of good in there. There's a lot of good, and like you got to take the bad with the good, right? Like Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, says that he's like, if you're gonna acknowledge the bad, then you need to acknowledge the good. So the good was that I had a home, I had food to eat, I got to go to school, I got to get my high school diploma. I got to learn a few interpersonal skills by the time I was 8 to, keep myself safe. But beyond that, it was just, there wasn't really any support for me when I was a kid, because the expectation for me was because I struggled so much in school, in grade school, is that
Mm.
my mom and stepdad didn't really have any expectations for me to, like, they basically didn't think I would get, they didn't know what I was going to do, but they didn't think it was going to be much. And so I'm glad that I've been able to turn that around. And I think that's also another thing that I learned is I'm always upbeat, even when I'm not upbeat, because I learned early on that if I sit, like if I wallow through my own misery, then I can't do anything. Like I'm too, I don't know, too not broken is the word, but too like I can't move, right? Like I can't do anything. So I have to. You don't you don't talk yourself into a new way of acting. You act yourself into a new way of talking. So I had to, like, learn to just, no matter what I feel. Like earlier, we talked about how I looked in the mirror and I was like, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" Well, acknowledge that and let's move on. And so I've learned how to do that as well. And that's also why I like to be very upbeat with other people, and I'm very good at motivating it, because to feel like I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where this is going, and I think, great, I've experienced that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you're feeling, how you're feeling it. Let's acknowledge it, and then let's build some practical steps so we can work together on getting you out of that mindset and getting you on your own path to success.
So, what do you feel are the next steps in your journey?
I love that you asked that question, because I have no idea. And that is absolutely terrifying. But on that same end, it is incredibly exciting, because uh, you don't know. There's this. I live in the Bay Area, and in the Bay Area, it's the land of the startups. Like all these, micro, Google and everything. They're all out here, and they have this this. We're building your plane as you fly it. And I think about that, like, today after we're done with this call, I'm going to work on some other stuff, and I have a few meetings this week, but I have no idea where next year is going to take me. I'm going to continue looking for work, continue updating my portfolio. I'm going to continue volunteering my time to help other creatives empower themselves and build their own communities. But honestly, I have no idea, because I think the tricky thing about me, and I'm acknowledging that, is that as much as I love the art, I love creating, I love designing, I love problem solving, I also love working with people. I love building teams up. I love creating work environments where people can feel safe. I love looking at the analytics of something and breaking things down step by step. And so I just think, like, I don't know if I'm going to be staying as an artist, or maybe I might get a different role doing something else, or maybe in 5 years I might switch from gaming back into animation, or do something entirely different in the creative field. But it's so terrifying, because you think, okay, because think of it like this: like every time is your most valuable asset. So you always want to be mindful of the time that you're spending with your career, with your life, with your friends, with your family. And you think, God, I don't really want to waste. They always say that you don't want to waste your time. Like, you really don't want to waste your time, because you don't want to be doing something frivolous for the next year, and then realize a year after that, oh, I could have been doing this thing, and this thing I did the year prior has some sort of tangible value, but I can't directly relate it to the thing that I want to do after that. So it's really, I'm more terrified of wasting my time and not contributing towards the greater value of my life as a human being than anything else. What about you?
What about me?
This is the question. Yeah. What about you?
Oh my god, I don't even know. Sometimes I ask questions and I don't have an answer. As far as me, I haven't the slightest of clues, because along the lines of what we've been discussing with the animation industry and the situation that it is, I hope that I can find like a new gig
Mm-hmm.
in the upcoming years, but it's been kind of tricky. And I would sit and kind of think, like, what am I doing? Did I waste all this time going and studying animation? Did I waste my time like even trying to pursue this. Like I started doubting if it was even worth being a storyboard artist and being a production coordinator. My skills apparently don't translate very well into animation, or not animation, live action and video
Oh,
games.
that sucks.
Yeah, I know. I think it's just because the market's super
Oh,
saturated.
yeah, yeah.
So they could be a little more picky.
Yeah.
And like, it's fine. It is what it is, honestly. Like, trying to be as neutral as possible because I don't know who's listening. But I want to do stuff for the sake of fulfillment of myself. And that's what I hope to see as some of the next steps of my journey, is pursuing these different stories that I have and following through and telling them, instead of holding myself back saying, I'm not ready, this can't work yet, blue, blue, blue.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now.
Yeah. I think that's great. It takes a lot of courage. And I mean, you're doing this podcast, and I think this is great. I was a little nervous, like, oh, what am I going to say? Do I study? Like, do I have any questions? But I'm having a great time. Like, this is a lot of
Oh,
fun.
I'm happy to hear that. I feel like people think that there's like a huge team behind this. It's just me. It's just me, just some person with a microphone in a room.
But isn't that funny about perception though? I think about that a lot because I was, again, my brother. We hung out this weekend. Shout out to Michael. And I was telling him, he was creating his LinkedIn profile, and he's like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to do. And I just said, you got to write about what you want. You tell the audience what you want to show them. Like, it's all about perception. So you got to market yourself. And there's that dirty word again, marketing. You got to market yourself, but it's true. And so I think you did a really good job of marketing yourself, because I also was under the assumption that, like, oh, this is like a team of 20 people and there's a producer, and like, no, it's just one person.
Yeah, it's just me.
That's great.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I have drawn the curtains. They are gone. There is no Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the person behind the microphone.
It's just you in the back of the microphone, and you're like bicycling to get the power running, and you got a little horn for the sound effects, and then you're writing, and then you drink some water.
Yeah, that's how podcasts are made.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now is the time for rapid questions, and I'm just gonna ask you a series of questions and you just answer as quickly as possible. Okay? It's not scary.
All right, now I'm scared.
Okay. Oh no. Okay, so let's start off easy. Okay. What's your favorite day of the week?
Monday.
Okay, I know it was the answer as quickly as possible, but I have to follow through. There's a whole cat whose thing is like he hates Mondays.
Yeah, I think it's Garfield. I love Garfield. I just, because Monday is the unexpected, because you work all week, and then you have the weekend, and you think, okay, is Monday going to be the day that I get the response email? Is Monday going to be the day where I get my big break? Like, Monday could be the day of opportunity, or it could just be another week. It's like opening a Christmas present every week, and Monday's my Christmas present.
Okay, you know what? That's lovely, actually.
That's how Garfield went.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. What's your favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Good answer. Yeah. What's your favorite season?
Fall.
Favorite number?
7.
And coffee or tea?
Coffee.
And how do you like your coffee?
Straight up.
Dang. Do you like Americanos?
No, what's that? So you weren't going to cancel me for that, but you're going to cancel me for this one. Interview ended now.
This is it. You don't know what Americano is? How dare you?
Wait, I can change.
It's just espresso shots and water. So it's like a little heavier than coffee.
Okay. I mean, that's
just a little.
That sounds, I always go to, I don't know if they have it. You're in LA, right? The LA area?
Maybe. Yeah. Who knows?
They have Phil's down there? Phil's coffee shop?
I don't know.
Oh.
There's a Pete's.
I don't like Pete's.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I'll have, next time I go to Phil's, or I'll have to try an Americano. And if I get really like antsy for the rest of the day, I know who to blame.
Yeah, blame me. It's fine. I'll take it. Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor?
Vanilla.
Do you like anything on your ice cream?
Nope.
Nice.
Ice cream and water. That's what I like.
Ice cream and
Yeah.
water. You put water on your ice cream?
No, but that'd be cool. Just like a little cup of ice cream and a nice cold glass of water.
Okay, that sounds refreshing. And cats or dogs?
Dogs.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I grew up with dogs.
I meant to say cat dog.
Oh no, the Nickelodeon
Yeah.
show? Oh no, don't say cat dog. Oh no, that's I
gotta watch that show now.
It's okay. What was your favorite show growing up? How about that?
Oh, that's a really hard one. There was this show, Pirates of the Dark Water, Mighty Max, Rugrats, Storm. Was it Starship Troopers? I think it had to be, and I haven't seen this one in a while. Mighty Max, The Adventures of Mighty Max. And my son's name is Max. And my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies, is Mad Max with Mel Gibson. So I just like the name
I'm
Max.
seeing a pattern.
Yeah, I just think it's a cool name. And if you watch the show, it's like he's a cool kid and he does adventures and he goes off and like maybe you just I had an overactive imagination as a kid, but I always thought like that's like if you have the name like Max, you're going places.
Super like unrelated but kind of related. I'm working on a pitch right now where one of the main characters' name is Max.
Oh, yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he has an older sister named Mia.
Ooh, I like that name.
Thank you. What is wind?
What is wind?
Yeah, what's wind?
Wind is the absence of all other elements.
Cool. And give me a word that starts with the letter. Ooh, should I be mean? Sorry, did you hear my stomach? I'm hungry. I skipped breakfast.
Breakfast.
As soon as you said don't skip breakfast, my stomach was like, breakfast, you say.
Your stomach was like, did you hear that?
Take notes. Give me a word that starts with the letter V. And can't be a name.
Oh, it can't be a name. Victorious. Is that?
Give me one more.
Vernacular.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you so much, Alejandro, for speaking with us today. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any social media you would like to share with us?
You can follow me on LinkedIn, just Alejandro Sandoval Painter. Just Google my name; it might come up. Or I'm on Instagram, Sandoval Art Account 3. It's a long story, but I got my first 2 art accounts were censored or banned for Instagram because I posted master copies. I didn't do anything like salacious. It was just a master copy, and the algorithm didn't like that. So Sandoval Art Account 3.
That's ridiculous. With some of the stuff on Instagram, they chose to ban that.
Yeah, I know. And I had like 1,000 followers. I've been working on that one for a few years, and they got like I lost everything. So yeah. Yeah.
Trifling.
But I love LinkedIn, so add me on LinkedIn.
Okay. And thank you, the listener, for tuning in. If you're interested in supporting Creating in Color, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and tell your friends and family about us. Do it. If you're interested in following me, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Maybe It's Kaybe. Thanks to Namikaze for creating the ending theme. You can find more of his music on his SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Namikaze. That's NAMIKAZE. If you are interested in supporting Creating in Color financially, consider a one-time or monthly donation through our PayPal or Coffee account, coffee.com/creatingincolor, or purchasing Creating in Color merch on Star Rain Studios. Links available via our link tree. Before we wrap up, stomach, stop. Before we wrap up, do you have any departing words of wisdom for everyone listening?
Yes, believe that you can, and you're halfway there.
Absolutely beautiful. You should get that on a shirt. Thank you so much. This has been Creating in Color. Keep striving, keep trying, keep creating. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.